From a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays all it is let me see through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people. Finding my own path like I'm writing my own sequel. Two-faced people all around, they be evil. 2021, you can never trust nobody. Good and bad thoughts on my mind, they be crowded. Pushing to get past his limits, then he bought it. Family work hard, but I never guess I'm found it. Came a long way in my dream, now I be drowning. Stay dying, I hear got some hearts pounded. Multi-talented, my passion, I haven't found it. Yeah, in my home, I was never ever doubted. I'm here from a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays all it niggas let me see through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people. From a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays all it niggas let me see through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people. Finding my own path like I'm writing my own sequel. Two-faced people all around, they be evil. 2021, you can never trust nobody. Good and bad thoughts on my mind, they be crowded. Pushing to get past his limits, then he bought it. Family work hard, but I never guess I'm found it. Came a long way in my dream, now I be drowning. Stay dying, I hear got some hearts pounded. Multi-talented, my passion, I haven't found it. Yeah, in my home, I was never ever doubted. I'm here from a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays all it niggas let me see through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people.
Yes. What's going on, people? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Now, as you guys know, I'm definitely not Garvon, and the person that's below my icon is also not Garvon. However, this is somewhat of a different format of the weekly news roundup for the Premier League. This will take the form of a winter window review, the transfer window, the winter transfer window review. And I'm joined here with Ken. Now, if you guys have been watching the JFC Garvin channel for some time and you would have been watching it on some Sundays where you have the top 8 show, you may remember Ken. So, welcome, Ken, and how are you doing this evening or night for those who are
Yeah,
watching?
yeah, I'm good. You know, been a long time not being on here, but it's good to be back.
All right, all right. So, right, so you are more acquainted with some of these deals. As I'm not going to pretend as if I am. I have been the greatest football fan of the Premier League as I usually would be, given circumstances. Um, but yes, the winter transfer window it is still open. I believe for a couple of days. I think around 3 more days. I think it closes on the 3rd of February, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't really
Yeah,
kept up to date with when it closes, so that's bad on me. But yes, Ken, what do you have to say about these deals? The thumbnail shows a few of those deals that would have taken place. But what are your
yeah.
thoughts?
It has been a busy transfer window so far. You know, some clubs bringing in big players, some clubs losing big players. Um, you see players like Kyle Walker leave Man City, something that I never expect. You see Kitchfer Scalia to PSG, Anthony leaving Man U, as probably that was expected. But yeah, a few big transfers. You know, some clubs were busy, some clubs are not. So we're gonna have a talk about them, and let's jump in with the first one. Kyle Walker to AC Milan. Ty, any thoughts on that one? It's a loan transfer though, not a permanent, a loan with a buy option. You're muted.
Right. Thank you. Well, one thing I do know is that in recent times, Kyle Walker hasn't really been the same player that Pep would want him to be, and I think in terms of the fact that he left. It's more so of it's a case of a move that I guess for some people they aren't surprised in terms of the fact that he's getting older, um, and all that. So probably they're gonna be trying to go the younger route because he's 34 now, I believe. So that means that in terms of how quick he was, he still has a bit of pace, but he's not the exact same player anymore. And he's been struggling defensively. He hasn't really been as reliable. Um, and for one thing, I did see something that came out about what Kyle Walker had to say about the fact that he would have made a move to AC Milan, albeit on a loan deal with the buy option. Is that he said he doesn't regret leaving. He says that he doesn't regret leaving, to go to AC Milan on loan because the fact is when this is a saying that they tend to say when a relationship isn't working out, the best thing to do is to go your separate ways. And obviously, as you said, it's not a permanent deal, meaning that he's definitely going to leave. It's a buy option. If it was a case of an obligation, then maybe you say, okay, whether or not he does well, it's obligated that AC Milan would have to pay whatever fee would have been placed alongside that loan. So yeah, I mean it does show that with when it comes on to the Manchester City situation, they've had a very mixed bag type of season. Obviously they had a massive struggle, losing a lots of games in a row. I think it got to 10 games where they hadn't won and all of that, and being out of the top four for a good part of the first half of the season. So Kyle Walker leaving, I mean, I think it works for him because a different league, and I'm not taking a dig at the Serie A, but the league is somewhat slower than the Premier League. So that's my thoughts on that move. How about you?
All right, my take on it. Not a bad chance, I think for me, the reason why I think this transfer is happening is because Man City have the likes of young Rico Lewis, and he's coming up to be a great player. Where, to me, I think even though Kyle Walker is getting old, remember he's more experienced. But to me, I think it's the problem where he believes that Rico Lewis is gonna come and replace him. And we've seen it before with Joao Cancelo, where he left and never got the chance to come back into the squad. So I think it's going to be the same with Kyle Walker leaving. And a comment here, Daniel Marlin, the Duran replacement. There's nothing confirmed about the what's it called, the Duran transfer. I've only heard rumors of him going to Al Nasser for 59 million, I think. Yeah, something around there.
Yeah,
So
it's actually
yeah.
been agreed actually. It's very close to being done actually.
Oh, it's close. Oh, but for me, him going to the Saudi at this young age, to me, it's not making any sense because he could stay and play more in Europe because there is more to be played. But I think Daniel Marlin, though, a good signing for Villa, a good player. So yeah, Ty, anything to say about the John Duran rumor, or as you say, it's very close. So transfer.
Yeah, I mean, and funny enough, about 45 minutes ago, Fabrizio Romano, the transfer guru, had this to say. Well, I'm not going to try to pronounce the Saudi team. I would not like to do the club any disservice, but they are prepared. They have prepared a John Duran, travel to Saudi Arabia. They prepared the travel for John Duran to Saudi Arabia on Friday after medical tests completed today. The teams would have checked all the documents for the 77 million euros deal plus add-ons, which would have been closed on Wednesday. So it appears that this move for John Duran is very close, very much a close deal for sure.
Yeah, like Steve mentioned waste. Yes, he's wasting his talent because Saudi players going to the Saudi at this young age. It just shows the level where he is because I see where England. That's the first manager I really heard that clapped at the Saudi where he said national team they cannot play in Saudi because I think it's more because of the money makes it with Neymar, and we'll get into that a little later on. But yeah, so all right. There's a current situation in the Manchester United camp. Ty, you still there?
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
Oh, Ty is gone. Oh, you're still here. There's a current situation with two players in the Manchester United camp, and transfer window is open, but I haven't heard any. I've heard that there are offers coming in for one of them, but for both of them are rumors. Where I saw a rumor about Rashford and PSG, and I don't remember where I saw it about Alejandro Garnacho, where some club Napoli made an offer, and Chelsea made an offer which was rejected as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, um, I am a Chelsea fan, so the whole thing with Garnacho, I have been frustrated when it comes on to such news because, in terms of what Chelsea need, he'll be surplus requirements. He's not a necessity. Chelsea have wingers. It's not like they don't have wingers. And the last time I checked, Garnacho is a winger, so it doesn't help them. They need a striker. They have Nicholas Jackson, who is not a striker, who can also play as a winger. So basically, deciding another winger when they literally have a player that can play as a winger rather than as a central forward. They need a central forward, but they're looking to quote unquote sign Garnacho. They had a massive interest in him in the past days. But yeah, as you said, with Napoli, Garnacho would have had interest from Napoli first. Then obviously heard that Chelsea came in calling for him, and according to some sources, they would have said that they would have been made for him from Chelsea and also Napoli. But and because of the fact that he had another team joining, that gave Napoli the ammunition to say that okay, let us increase the amount that we're asking for, the asking price. Let us increase it. So that is the situation surrounding Garnacho. Garnacho is in a bit of a limbo right now. I mean, he's in a position where he's playing rather than Rashford because Rashford hasn't played in a while. And I guess because of the whole narrative with what happened with Rashford, him saying that about wanting to leave and whatever. Although the essence of what he said in an interview wasn't necessarily completely negative. It wasn't good for him to say, but he said he has no bad blood against the Red Devils, Manchester United. But it's a case where he'd be okay to leave and he'd be willing to leave if the opportunity came. So it's funny now that the opportunity is not coming for him, but I know he's been phased out of the team, and it leaves him in a bit of a limbo as well as Garnacho, as their future remain uncertain as the transfer market comes to its closing stages. So it's a very interesting situation regarding the two wingers or wide forward. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But there's still time. Things could change. A lot can happen on deadline day as well. So we'll see what happens with these two players. But yeah, it's a bit of a complicated thing. A lot of mess is going on at Manchester United on the pitch and off the pitch. So hopefully they can get a win also on the off the pitch as they can on the pitch. So we'll see what happens for sure. We'll have to definitely keep our eyes on this story.
Yeah, and you mentioned Napoli. Napoli wanting a winger currently where they have lost the likes of Kishvarskelia to PSG. Yeah, PSG where they lost the likes of Kishvarskelia to PSG, and For me, I saw before when the transfer was being announced, I saw a post by Kitch Kelly on Twitter where he said something about don't something about leaving somewhere. They call you what, they call you some lion, and then when you're here too long, something like that. I don't really remember what he said, but there he posted something. I think it was in relation to the Victor Osimhen Siaga,
Mm-hmm.
where he was being fought out of the squad. So I think that's what he's trying to say, that he wants to leave before. That's him in that situation. What do you think
Mm.
about that transfer?
I mean, it's a good chance for PSG for sure. I know that a lot of clubs, especially in the English Premier League, they would love to have been able to get the player, but obviously we know that this transfer, it wasn't cheap. It was not a cheap transfer for sure. But I mean, I have to respect the player. The fact that he recognized the situation with Osimhen. Obviously, Osimhen has put pen to paper and he would have extended his contract to a level where it's in limbo. He's not. He's a case where the situation between him and Napoli has become so toxic that he had to leave because he wanted a new opportunity. Obviously, you win the Scudetto, so he said, okay, fine, Scudetto, fine. I've won the greatest thing that I can win in this Serie A. So why not go and win something else, like different league, or try to win the Champions League somewhere else? And we see the situation with Victor Osimhen is that even that loan deal could also be in limbo as well in terms of him remaining there. I mean, he says he loves it there, but at the same time, there's other reports saying that he would want to leave, and and all that. So it's interesting, but I have to say I respect Kvaratskhelia decision to leave before things got to that point, because we know that in the whole hierarchy in Napoli, they would have said some negative things about Victor Osimhen. So I guess it's smart. It's a very mature move as well for him to leave before it gets to that toxic animosity based sort of environment between him and the club. So fair play to Kvaratskhelia, and hopefully Osimhen will learn from all of this, because he's in a situation where I don't think he will have a future at Napoli. I think if Galatasaray don't decide to keep him, which looks like it's not really a possibility, then he's gonna have to leave in the summer. As well, I don't know. Crazy things can happen. There's a lot of actually no, I beg your pardon. I there was a report that Galatasaray would have made a bid to Napoli for 65 million euros, and it was rejected by Napoli. So, I mean, it looks as if Galatasaray would want to keep him, but they're probably on the safer side in terms of not wanting to spend a lot on him. And I'm not really acquainted with their financial situation, but I know the last time I checked, Richard Osimhen would have demanded, well, to sign the player, the demand for him was in excess of 90 million. So I think in a situation like that, it's concerning. But fair play to Kvaratskhelia, as I said before, because he made a decision to leave before it got toxic for sure.
And yeah, it's a good move. Like I said earlier, PSG wanting the winger because of the Mbappe move. But yeah, another rumor, not a confirmed, but to me, I thought it was gonna happen, but by the looks of things, I don't see it happening. And it's the Trent Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid, which was highly talked about in the final parts of the season, of last year. I think, yeah, it was last year
Mhm.
where they played the match and he didn't play well, and they were saying it's because he's going to Madrid. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a story for sure that I would have definitely kept my eyes on, especially as you said in the latter part of 2024. It was a transfer news, a transfer rumor that obviously had a lot of publicity. You had ex Liverpool um, players, legends, Liverpool legends, coming out and saying that they don't respect what Trent is doing, and it's what happens when when you much at a young age. So with know that he's around 25, I believe, it makes him believe that okay, fine, I can leave. So they're saying that there's no loyalty, and it goes back to that whole narrative of there's no loyalty in football. He's not accepting a new contract. His future is uncertain. All of that. You're saying that it appears unlikely. I mean, as I said, I haven't really kept up to date as to what has progressed, how it has progressed in terms of if it's feasible for the summer. But I do know that there's no contract extension signed yet. At the time of me speaking right now, I don't know for certain that it will happen. I just want to quickly say hello to Miss Molina. Big up to you, Miss Molina. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. But yeah, the whole thing with Trent, it's a concerning situation for sure. Because it does leave Liverpool in a position where they have to consider who they can get as a right back, because in terms of what they presently have as options, it's minimal, or it's not up to the level of what Trent can give you on his good day. So they may find themselves in a situation where they may have to look to invest into a fullback, a right-sided fullback, to to ensure that they don't leave themselves exposed or at risk of not having such of a creative or a positive outlet on that right hand side. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. You're saying that you don't think it's gonna happen. We'll have to see what happens for sure. If it doesn't happen, then it's good for Liverpool. If he does decide to sign a contract extension rather than to leave on a free or leave overall, it will give them enough time to actually look to find more depth for him. I know that they probably have a right-sided fullback or a player that can play on the right hand side. I know for years they've used his name has slipped me now. Gomez. Is it Gomez? Yeah, I think the name has slipped me completely. But yeah, they have options there, but obviously they do want an option that will actually have equal quality. And I mean, if they decide to sign somebody with quality from a different club, I mean, then they will be short on options, because the way that they play on the slot, it makes them flexible. So I'm interested to see what happens with Trent as it relates to this Real Madrid story. Real Madrid definitely know what they want, and they have an idea of what they could do, they can do, and what could be done, because they have that rich history as one of the European giants, one of the greatest teams in Europe, and obviously the king of the European Cup, the Champions League. So definitely they have that history of being able to garner a lot of attention of these players and attract them to the club as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens for sure. But we'll see if what you're saying about it not happening is what comes to fruition for sure.
Um, um, I'm reading where recently confirmed earlier today. Javi Simons. Have you ever heard that name?
Of course, so how can I not know that name? He was at PSG. I think, well, he was a PSG player, I believe, and then I think he's at RB Leipzig now, right? What there's an agreement for him to stay there permanently.
Well, for me, I don't know what's going on with PSG because I've seen when um PSV. I don't remember if it was a permanent transfer. I think it was a permanent transfer where PSV signed him, but I believe that there was some buy and back clause on his contract where PSG managed to buy him back and then loan him out to RB Leipzig. And after such a great season, I believe now RB Leipzig wants him as a permanent player. Where it's as far as I know, it's confirmed where they're going to pay an $81
Wow.
million euros
Mhm.
for him. And Xavi, a great player. Right now, I would take him at Arsenal, to be honest, because he's a quality player. What do you have to say about him and the move again?
I mean, man, he's the definition of a player that has quality, has great promise, because he's 21. He's very young. So he's still in the early stages of his career. Um, I do know that he was a part of the Barcelona setup for sure. And all of that, and obviously PSG. And as you rightfully said, he went to PSV. Then there's a buyback clause or something like that. I don't remember the clause. There's so many clauses that they insert into these transfers these days. Sell-on clause, where you get percentage, and buyback clause where you have the first refusal and you can buy back the player. So it's a case where I hope it's not a case where he's all over the place, um, going from club to club. But I mean, what's he's doing right now. I mean, Champions League is not the greatest. Champions League, he hasn't scored goals, but in terms of the Bundesliga, he's played 11 matches for instance, and he has 4 goals, 3 assists. So it's not necessarily bad in terms of the amount of um, matches he's played in. But he has a lot of promise. He's very young, so he has a lot of development left to do for sure. But yeah, it's a situation where I always find it strange when players are all over the place, moving from club to club, leaving a club, then going back to the club, then be loaned out, then that club wanting you, and then the club, your parents' club, deciding that okay, fine, you can go there. So I guess it's a case where they know that they could have gotten him for a profit. You probably get a profit off selling him. I don't know what the cost would have been for them to buy him back. But I'm sure it's definitely a profit for them in terms of what they would have, had to pay for him initially to get him back, and then obviously, him going on loan to RB Leipzig and doing someone of a good enough job considering the amount of matches he's played. But yeah, hopefully his career doesn't continue to be stagnated and all that, and it actually becomes more consistent.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about the. Sorry. Let's talk about these signings that I've been wanting to talk about, that I've seen Manchester City make, where you have,
Hmm.
I don't even know how to pronounce this name.
Is it which one? Is it the
Abdulkadir.
Egyptian?
No, the
Or you mean the
Abdulkadir. Yeah,
Uzbekistan defender?
yeah,
You're
and
talking Abdul Qadir Kosanov.
yes, and Vitor Reyes and Omar Marmoush were two
Yeah.
centre backs, one forward.
Mhm.
I don't know what's the reason behind that transfer. I don't know if because of their recent form in losing matches. I don't know if that's the reason for the signings, but I want to understand because two centre backs where City has Ake, they have John Stones, Diaz, all of those players, and Givardiol, who is a centre back who can play centre back as well, and all of those players. But they went on to make two centre back pairings, signing and they also went on to buy a striker. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, um, I mean, as you said, it's a very interesting thing. It makes me wonder if it's related to the fact that they have a lot of they have a lot of what's it called? The term has slipped me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but in the charges, right? The charges. They have over 100 charges. Obviously, that the verdict will be revealed in due time. I want to give you a case where they believe that they may be penalized, transfer ban, something to them making such signings. I mean, as you said, in terms of making a signing within the defensive area, it does appear strange. However, it could potentially mean that Nathan Ake could leave, or they have Stones, who obviously has had injury problems. He's been having injury. He's had an injury-prone season, so probably they want to add more, of an option. And in terms of what their other options have been doing defensively, they've had a struggle. They've had challenges. Not to take into consideration the most recent match in the Premier League, but in terms of performances in the Champions League, for instance, conceding goals, losing in the Champions League as well, and the whole host of a poor season that they've had. We would have mentioned that earlier on as well. Um, but yeah, the whole fact of them, signing two defenders, it does appear strange, but it doesn't show to me that they're trying to go with longevity in that defensive area, because both Abdulkadir Kosanov and Victor Reis are young. They're very young, especially Abdulkadir Kosanov. He's very young. He's a very young defender. So I think in terms of that, perhaps that's the case. Maybe it could be the charges. Maybe they think they'll be getting a transfer ban and they're trying to build for the future. Because if I'm not mistaken, Nathan Ake is very close. He's very close to being 30 years old, if he's not 30 yet. So I guess they're trying to freshen up their squad in terms of age and longevity and having that charge. But I do know that they've had injury problems with Nathan Ake, for instance. I know Ruben Diaz, their key defender, has also had injury problems. And I think Oscar Bob is also another one that is also there in terms of another player, albeit not so much of a defender per se. But I think that's probably the case. Maybe that is the situation. Maybe it could be the charges, and they just want to be safe before it's too late, and just make signings. And with Omar Mamouche, I think it's a case of trying to replace Riyad Mahrez, having a player that has that quick pace, has the good movement, something that would have been seen in the most recent Premier League match against Chelsea, and also in other matches as well. So I think in terms of wanting that type of quality player who's Egyptian, albeit Riyad Mahrez he was Algerian, but the whole essence of having a quality quick pace player, probably that's the case.
Yeah. But for me, I think even with injuries, I think the more ideal transfer I would have been looking for is a defensive midfielder who could have held that spot until Raji is back fit. But I guess Pep is cooking up something. He always is. So yeah. Next transfer. Wow, there's a lot, and I want to go on and talk about, yes, my final one for today, and it's a big one. No, not my final one, but I want to talk about this one. Anthony to Real Betis. Anthony is struggling at Manchester United. I see him. I hope to see him find his way back to the old Anthony that we all saw before the Manchester United days. And what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, all all banter aside, there is a situation where you know the way that his career has gone, especially since joining United, it's been problematic. It's been very much problematic in terms of inconsistencies. He has scored some very top notch goals for Man United. While he was obviously there, obviously being on, obviously departing. At least for the season and all that. You know, it's a situation where, as you said, the type of player that he was at Ajax, it really is unfortunate to see the downwards, spiral that has happened, and the dismal performances and seasons that he's had, since since he obviously was at Manchester United, on a year-to-year basis. I mean, I do know that the Real Betis deal, he was alone. So obviously, for at least for the remainder of the season, he'll be on loan at Real Betis and all that. It's a situation where, when you look at what he did at Manchester United, you can understand why. I mean, the amount of goals that he would have scored for them in the Premier League, it's so minimal. He only had one goal in the season prior to the current one, four in the one before that. So, what he did at Ajax, and the reasoning behind why they would have been willing to make such a large bid and spend the big bucks on him, it makes it very much concerning. what has happened to the player? Why does he look like a shadow of himself? Why can he not deliver and show quality? I mean, his numbers in the Eredivisie, it wasn't the greatest, but you could see the potential, you could see the capabilities. And as a Brazilian, you know that Brazilians have that flair, that Brazilian flair, the ability to run quickly, alluded to footwork. They can show both and all that. But with him, he's had a challenge. His career, albeit he's more so 24 now, it hasn't really been the greatest, especially since he joined the Red Devils a couple of years ago. But hopefully he can get a new life at Real Betis, get some greatness back into his veins, and actually deliver on a positive front. Before we continue, though, I want to really interact with the chat because we've kind of neglected the chat. There's a lot of things that have been said. So let's just do some housekeeping job and ensure that we allow the audience to feel as a part of the conversation, as without them being here, we would just be having a conversation, just you and I. So it's important that we ensure that we interact with the chat for sure. So okay, some of this is interaction with each other. Steve LFC was saying that for Mamouche, he's shining already, and he wishes that Liverpool had signed him, and now Liverpool have to face him rather than to have him as an option as well. But this says that he hopes that the Egyptian king silences the Egyptian prince. So therefore, he's saying that he hopes Salah silences the Egyptian prince, in this case being Mamouche. But the next one is Mamouche is the Alvarez replacement. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Alvarez, perhaps because he can play in that area as well. I do believe that is probably the case as well, Steve. The thing is, though, in terms of the quick pace, the technical ability, the dribbling ability, he reminds me more so of Mahrez. So perhaps it could be 2-in-1 because he can play essentially as an attacking midfielder. You can play him as a false nine. You can do that. But in terms of what Mamouche can do as well, in terms of this quick pace and quick movement, he's able to show you a replication of what Mahrez brought to Manchester City. He has a good shot on him. He has the capabilities to create for his teammates as well. So all of that comes into play more so of a Mahrez. So Alvarez, in terms of being able to play as a deep lying forward or as a false nine, but also as a winger on the left or the right, like Mahrez. So that's my opinion. But let's not go backwards. Let's go forward. Anthony, Ken, as you rightfully said, it's interesting to see what happens at Real Betis. Obviously, him leaving Manchester United on a loan to go to Real Betis, hopefully gets that beam of life and light, and perhaps he can go there on a permanent note if it is possible, and if the loan goes well as well.
Yeah, to see him out of the Manchester United squad, it won't be hard, but him getting a move to a club where he can get more and find a way. But I want to talk about this transfer. My final transfer for the evening. I don't know if you have any, but this will be mine. Neymar Jr. to Santos from where what's the name of the club again, Ty? Which one? Al Hilal Arsenal?
He said, "It's you're asking
Al
which one."
Hilal, I think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Neymar to Santos
yeah.
Yeah, Neymar from Al Hilal, where he has, to me, it's a failed transfer. Him to Al Hilal, I don't know. He chose what probably the money, or probably he couldn't take any more disrespect at PSG. But for me, that was a stupid transfer to make. Going there injured and then recovering from an injury and then being injured again. That's what we call poor investment, or a waste of money. Because me personally, as a manager, wouldn't go on to make that transfer, because Neymar to me is a injury prone player. He's a great player, but an injury prone player. He's always getting injured and stuff. So when I see them terminate his contract, it was a bit expected by me, because him not being able to play, but yet he's getting paid this amount of money and not being able to do a certain type of doing what he's expected to be done of him for that amount of money. So I guess for me, it's a good release by the team, and for him back to his boyhood club, I think he can restart it, find himself, find his way once again. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you made a solid point there. I mean, the, the the narrative surrounding Neymar's career has, especially in recent years, has been injuries upon injuries upon injuries upon injuries. And I mean, we know that the Saudi league is getting a lot of quality players, in terms of what they've done at prior clubs. But in terms of he got the big bag. He got some good of a good salary, wages and all that. But I guess they're not foolish, and they wouldn't be a rich, you know society if they weren't smart and intellectual people. They obviously know that in order for them to be able to remain wealthy and all that, they can't be making foolish decisions. And yes, in terms of Neymar as a player, he has qualities that he is the epitome of what it means to have a Brazilian talent. But in terms of how he left PSG, the toxicity, the fact that injuries would have defined a lot of his time at PSG. uh, it does show you all you need to know, that a lot of the times you have players that have great potential, but they just never get to that level that they perhaps could get to, because injuries are always there. That dreaded I word that tends to get a lot of players, or hinder or hamper the careers of these players. So yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a beautiful narrative. He goes back to his boyhood club where it all began. So yeah, fantastic for sure. It's definitely fantastic. Um, in terms of that, the beautiful story, everything goes back to square one. It's all coming around circle. All of that fantastic, and hopefully it'll be good. It'll be good vibes and positivity. I don't remember exactly what he said. I heard what he said. And obviously, I'm not fluent in Portuguese. I couldn't find a translation for what he was saying, but for what I do know, this minimal amount of Portuguese that I know, he obviously said he's happy, to be able to return to his boyhood club, the club that puts him on the map as a promising young player. So definitely, he's definitely you know happy, to go back to his boyhood club for sure. So, and hopefully it works out for sure. Hopefully, it's a move that will reap better results than his move to the Saudi league.
Ty, do you have any transfers that you want to talk about that I didn't didn't talk about? Do you have any that you want to talk about?
Well, if you look at the photo here, I mean, in terms of big moves, I mean, we've discussed the Manchester City signings, the incomings. We spoke about the outgoing of Kyle Walker, albeit on a loan with a buy option. Obviously, we spoke about Anthony to Real Betis on a loan, and obviously, we spoke about Neymar previously. We spoke about Garnacho and Rashford. We could potentially leave, or they found themselves in a very bad position with Manchester United, and especially with the manager slash head coach. But there is perhaps a transfer that we probably could mention, not probably not in full extent, um, but I think there's some transfers here that we think I think we should probably mention of. Jaden Filangini, he has joined from Aston Villa to Ipswich Town. You have I believe that's what's his name? Ben. It's not Ben Godfrey. Not Ben Godfrey. What's his name? Ah, the name has completely slipped me. Um, let me let's progress past that one. And Cinzo, he left Brighton. He's gone at Ipswich Town as well. Um, Obviously, there's been some signings from Aston Villa. The names have completely slipped me right now. I apologize for that. But Tottenham, for example, I definitely can't pronounce your goalkeeper's name. He's been playing for them in recent matches. He played against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup as well. So it's there's been some other moves. Obviously, some other teams making some move. I think not Wolves have made a move as well. I think this is very much unprofessional, forgetting the names of the players here, but the names have completely slipped me. But yeah, I don't think there's any other transfer in terms of the big moves that we did not mention. Obviously, there's other options here, and for the audience, they'll be able to see. I hope the transfers. Let's see if that probably makes it better. Some of the moves that would have taken place um, in the Premier League, and also in regards to Premier League team players moving on loan to other teams, such as the Italian team AC Milan and Kyle Walker, and the Spanish team Real Betis for Anthony. So it yeah, I think probably that covers the big winter transfer window news. There could be more. John Duran, of course, we spoke about the fact that he's going to go to the Saudi League. So one player leaves Saudi League, another one goes. So we'll see what happens, especially with John Duran's move. I mean, leaving Aston Villa for in terms of wanting more game time, and his attitude not being fancied by Unai Emery. So all of that probably shapes up well for them for sure. But those are some other transfers that took place. But I think we've covered in good amounts and in good length some top transfers that would have taken place or could potentially take place in the winter window as well. So yeah, anything else you want to say before I go to the chat for the last time?
Yeah. All right. What would be your best transfer so far for your most favorite transfer so far in this window?
Um, hmm, that's a sticky question. I have to be honest. I would say, because we spoke about Kvaratskhelia. I think Kvaratskhelia is either between Kvaratskhelia and Omar Mamouche, because I think either one of those players they're a good buy for uh, PSG and Manchester City respectively. So yeah, I think it's between them. I can't really select between those two, but I think in terms of good winter moves, especially moves that you wouldn't really see happening in a winter window, ideally. But in terms of that, I'm leaning towards saying Omar Mamouche because he brings that quality to City, and he could be a very helping. He could be a driving force that will help them to get back to the top four, and perhaps even keep themselves relevant in terms of, although it seemed like an uphill battle for them in the title race, but be able to get back in the top four and not to have a very poor season in that sense. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and well, my favorite transfer I think for the entire season would be the would be Javi Simons to RB Leipzig, the permanent deal, where for me it's not because during to him being at the club currently, and playing. But for me, why I say it's my favorite one, where it is a permanent deal now, is because he's a quality player, and I think staying at PSG won't be the ideal club for him at the moment, because he's a rising player. Staying there, he won't get enough game time as expected. So going to another club, making an impact, that would be my transfer of the season, of the current window. I mean, the winter transfer window. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining, and make sure to like, subscribe. So guys, have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you again on Sunday for the PL talk, the top 8 show. So have a great day.
From a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays, all it is to be see-through. I always said this is that I'm staying around people. Finding my own path like I'm writing my own sequel. Two-faced people all around, they be equal. 2021, you can never trust nobody. Good and bad thoughts on my mind, they be crowded. Pushing get past his limits, then he bought it. Family work hard, but I never guess I'm found it. Came a long way in my dream, now I be drowning. They dying, I hear got some hearts pounded. Multi-talented, my passion, I haven't found it. Yeah, in my home, I was never ever doubted. I'm here from a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what